Hi everyone, good evening. This is our part 2 of our ongoing DevOps series. And in our first talk, I gave you all overview of what we plan to cover in this series. And then we did a small overview of how DevOps came into picture and some of the key terms like continuous integration, deployment, and delivery. Also, we understood what was the problem for a developer or an operation prior to adopting DevOps mindset, and then we came to know that both had common goal. And apart from learning these tools, we also had to do some mind shift changes. For example, now instead of producing a software after 2-3 months, we'll follow quick releases. Okay, and to achieve all those things we need automation, and hence there are tools for every aspect, like for to build, to code, to store your code. Then if you want to containerize your application, you want to monitor how's your application performing, automation, both your unit test cases or your regression test cases. So DevOps is one about the mindset, second is about the tools, and third is about learning. Okay, so we'll start with Linux today. It's one of the most used operating system where DevOps are concerned. Like you would have heard about Windows, you have heard about Mac OS. Linux is another operating system, and it has got various distributions. So you would have like heard like Red Hat, yeah, Ubuntu. So all these are distributions of Linux. There are a lot of commands, if I have to say, but please don't get overwhelmed by the number of commands. It's like when you start working on to the stuff or the tools, you'll remember these command, right? And at the end, there are like very few command which you use regularly. For example, during my time, the common command I used to use was to grep, which is to search something in the log files or move some things, yeah, copy some files. So these were the basic things I used to see, either check the privileges of the user or give modify the permissions, etc. So these are the common things we used to do. Yes, here and there we used to use command which used to help us see, okay, how is our system performing, how's our network performing, and everything is out there on the Google. Go out there and search, you'll find the commands. They'll give you usage also, like how to use the command. And then Linux itself gives you a manual. So there's this command man. If you type that, you'll be able to find out the usage of that command. Okay, so yeah, so what is it that I'm going to cover today? So first I'll tell you how do you provision Linux on AWS. Okay, then we'll connect EC2. So on Windows, how do you connect to these Linux OS? So there are various ways, and one of the way is by using PuTTY. Okay, so I'll tell you how do you connect to the EC2 instance which you have created, which has or Linux as the operating system, and how do you connect it from your Windows application. And then we'll start with the commands after understanding about file system. So one best way to learn or understand Linux is do its comparison with Windows, right? Like for example, in Windows, what is your root directory? Okay, or a root folder, it's like your C drive. What is it that we have in Linux? How do you copy things in Windows? Okay, so Windows is more of your graphical user interface. You just cut, copy, paste. To do same thing in Linux, there will be a command. Okay, then we'll be talking about some basic commands, like if you want to know what is current date, the time zone which we are following, who is the user who has logged in. Okay, so by knowing the user through which you have logged in, you'll be able to understand the privileges it has, whether you've logged in as a admin user or a non-admin user. Then followed by that, we'll go ahead and we'll see how do you create a file or a directory. Okay, so here directory is your folder in Windows. Okay, So how do you create directories, which means how do you create folders, how do you read the content of the file, how do you remove the files, how do you copy and move the files. Remember, at times we have to copy some things which has been saved in a particular drive to another drive, okay, or one folder to another folder. So same thing we'll study today. And then my favorite command, which I've used a lot in my this 10 years, which is like a grep command, which used to help me search in a log. So whenever there used to be issue, right, and we had to troubleshoot, so we wanted to grep and find out specific information, right, like what was the IP address, or the step at which we were seeing issues. So you can grep and find out what was logged at that time. So grep is one of my favorite command. And then I always used to use tail or a head. That used to help me find particular print last 10 lines or first 10 lines of the log files. Okay. And then we'll see what next. Okay. So again, as I had mentioned in my first session, for every topic, we'll have more than 2 sessions, right? So this is part 1 for the Linux. Okay. In the second part, we'll be studying more about Linux, like how do you manage services, how do you manage users, processes, etc. Okay. Today, it's all about very basic command, which with respect to copy, edit, delete, move, search, okay, scan a file, etc. Okay, so I'll show all these through demo as well. Okay, so let me first tell you how do you log into AWS. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to create AWS free tier account. I already have an account, but if you want to just a second, let me just go to Google. Okay, so this is what you have to do. This is my account. I'm logged into this account. How do you create this account? So you can always go AWS free tier account. Okay, and then from here you can start creating your account. So it would ask for your basic details. After that, you have to give your payment detail. I think 1 or 2 rupees gets deducted based on like currency. So I'm talking with respect to Indian currency. So that 2 rupees gets deducted just to validate your card is valid or not. Okay, but nothing gets deducted. How you are charged is, for example, for free tier, all the services which we have, it has a limit. So for example, the EC2 instance, which is like you are having a virtual system, okay, in a very layman language, okay, virtual server or virtual computer, you can say. So you've got limit of 750 hours. So if your machine is up for 750 hours, until that you won't be charged, but after that you'll be charged, right? Though charge are very minimal, they are you are charged per hour or per second with respect to whether the instance which you have used is Linux or Windows. I exactly don't remember the value. Is it per hour for Windows or per hour for Linux? But this is how you are charged. Like you can see all your details from here. Like if you log in here and you can go to your billing dashboard. Okay, so you get to know, okay, what is your current bill, etc. And so that's why it is recommended that whatever services you use, you should go ahead and stop those services or terminate those services to avoid the bills which you get. Okay, so once you've created an account, let me just log out and show you what exactly you see. So yeah, you need to type AWS Management Console, log back in. For me, it is showing log back in because I was already logged in. Yeah. And the first user which you create, right, that's your root user. So that root user has got the all the privileges. Okay. In short, root user is that user through which you have created this account, and through that has your card details. Okay, so that's why it's advisable that you don't share your root user detail with anyone, because if something is created in the AWS, this root user can delete those services, plus it can delete the account itself. Okay, but for today's demo, we are focusing on Linux. I'm not going deep dive into IAM and users. But do let me know in comments if you want to have a session on AWS services, especially IAM. Okay, so which is more about identity and access management. I'll be happy to take that session for you. Okay, so now here you need to provide the email address, okay, through which you had created this account. Yeah, specify your password, and this is where I make a lot of mistake. Yeah. So once you're logged in, okay, you have from here you have to select a region. So for now you can understand that these regions are data center. Choose a region where you are very close. Okay, so for example, we are like it's India, so I'm going to choose Asia Pacific, which is Mumbai. Okay, and now how do you find out your EC2? You see something here for me, because these are the recent services which I have used. For you, you can at any day go to EC2, search. Okay, instances, launch an instance. Okay, now while launching an instance, ensure that the instance which you pick, it should have free tier, right? So that means you won't be charged until 750 hours has been used. Okay, and you can go ahead and select Red Hat. Okay, so yeah, Red Hat. All this we'll study when we start a series on AWS. Yeah. Just make sure you select some subnet here and enable. Okay, again, for now just follow what I am doing, and as I mentioned, in future we might start AWS series, so that time we can study all these things in detail. Okay, for now, what is our purpose? We wanted a Linux OS, right? So from where we are getting that Linux operating system? Using Amazon. So there is a Amazon EC2 instance, which is your virtual machine of virtual computer, which has Linux as its operating system, and which is the distribution Red Hat. Okay, and simply do review and launch. Okay, launch. Now you need to create a key using which you are going to log in to this instance. Okay, so now this instance has been created in Mumbai data center, and you want to access this instance from your machine, from your Windows machine. Okay, so for that you need to create a key. Okay, so either you can choose an existing key or create a new. So I'll go ahead and create a new. I'll say Linux. Okay, download the key and launch instance. Okay. Now you've created a machine, right? How do you connect to it? So to connect, there are various methods on Windows machine. The one is using mobile stream, or you can use putty, right? So I'll tell you how do you connect to this system using putty. Okay, so before that you have to go again, search for download putty for Windows. Okay, and from here you have to download two things. Putty, maybe, yeah, I already have in my system, but okay, so based on what is your configuration, you have to download two things, putty and putty gen. Okay, so what does putty gen helps you? It helps you to create a private key. So right now, if you see the key which we had created, it is .temp. Okay, we need to convert it to .ppk. Again, this might sound lot of information, but if I have to divide it into two simple statements, first is we wanted a Linux operating system. Okay, from where we can get that Linux operating system, either install it on your own system, okay, or what you can do is you can leverage cloud platforms. So I'm using AWS. So using AWS, I have created one EC2 instance or a machine which has Linux operating system that I have created. Now I want to connect to that machine. Okay, so how do I connect to that machine? There are various ways, and one of the way is by using putty. Okay, and now when you go ahead and install putty, there are two things you have to install: putty and putty gen. Okay, if you see this link here, AWS, simply if you go to the AWS console under documentation, you can always say, how do you connect? How do I connect to Linux from putty? So it has given you all the steps, right? It is telling, it would take you to a download page, right? And it is talking about putty gen, okay? And this gives these steps also, okay? So how do you convert your .temp key to .ppk? So all these details are or mentioned here with screenshot. So I'm doing the same thing. Okay, I've created my EC2 instance, and now I want to connect to that EC2 instance from my Windows machine, which is that medium which is helping me to connect to that EC2 instance. It's putty. Okay, now what I'll do is, remember this step, it says I need to change my .temp key to .ppk. Okay, so let me reshare. Just a second. Let me just open putty and then I'll putty gen. Yeah. Okay. So you can see putty gen, right? Now what I need to do is click on, oh, sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have clicked on generate. It should have been load. Okay. Let me just cancel this here. Come on. Sorry guys. I instead of clicking load, I click generate. So okay, now what I'll do, I'll click on load. Okay, what was the name which I had created? Remember, it was .pem, so you have to do all files. Okay, and Linux 2 was what I had created. Okay, okay. And just say save private, yes, and name it anything. So I'll keep same name. Okay, so I've got my private key. Yes. Now what I need to do is I need to connect to putty. Okay. So what I'll do is I have to provide the host name. So from where I'll get the host name, which is the IP address of my machine which I've created. This was the machine which I had created. You can give it, this is the public IP address, you can copy. Paste. Okay. Then go to connection, data. You are going to log in using EC2 user. Then you need to provide the key. So SSH, auth, and here is the key. Accept, and you are connected to the machine. So let me quickly revise it for you all. What are the things I did? First, you need to create a free tier account in AWS. Okay. If you know other cloud platforms, please use that. I know AWS, so that's why I created an account in AWS. Remember, free tier account. After creating an account, I have logged in as a root user. Then I selected a region as Mumbai. In that region, I went ahead and I launched an instance. While launching an instance, I selected Red Hat, okay, as the distribution or as the Linux OS. And in second or third step, I had to do those two small changes, which you can see in the recorded session. Okay, so it was mainly enabling the public IP address. Okay, so due to that step only, you got a public IP address, right? This 13.232.119.24. Okay, yeah. Now that part is done. You've got your instance. Okay, it's up and running. When you see, okay, running and you see status as 2 by 2, okay, that means now you can connect. Now the problem statement is I'm on my Windows machine. I want to connect to a Linux system. Okay, so there has to be a some midway, okay, which would help me to connect from my system to a Linux operating system. So that midway is your Putty. So I have downloaded two things, Putty and PuttyGen. PuttyGen helped me to convert my .pem file into .ppk file, and Putty helped me to connect. Okay, so while connecting, remember you have to give this IP address, public IP address, the name of the user, which is EC2 user, and then the key which you had converted to .ppk. Once that's done, you'll be connected to the Linux machine. Okay, again, you can find all these details in a YouTube channel. You can search for any YouTube channel or any Medium blog. People have mentioned step-by-step details on how to create EC2 instance, how to create a AWS free tier account, how do you connect from Putty to EC2 instance. Even in AWS also, in their documentation, you find all these details. Okay, so you can simply search connect to your Linux instance from Windows using Putty. Okay. But if you face any problem in these two steps, you can leave your comment in the chat. We'll help you out with the setup part. Okay. So now let's get started with our Linux. Okay. So this was kind of a prerequisite for doing that hands-on command practice. Okay. Okay. Just a second, guys. So let me do it this way. Let me first give you all the command and then we'll go ahead and practice it online. Okay. I mean, we'll practice that command. Okay. So file system, as I told you, same way in Windows, the way you have file system, in Linux also you have a file system, and the root directory or the grandparent in Linux for file system hierarchy is your root directory, which is replaced by this, okay, /, right? And in Windows it is your C drive. Okay, under that you'll have these directories. Okay, for example, you've got bin directory, so this contains your essential user command. Okay, these are the user commands which you have commonly used or which you are using, right? So it has got those binaries. Okay, then if you want to keep some configuration file, okay, for example, if you want to run, you would have heard, right, there is a cron job which runs. Okay, like if there is an update made to a database, there would be a job run which would pick that data from the database and generate a file, etc., which and this job runs every day at so and so time. Okay, so all those things you can you'll find under etc. Okay, so you can see these are the under etc, these are other files or a directories which you find. Okay, host name, which gives you the detail about the name of the system, right? And using this file, you can change the name of, for example, if it is saying some EC2 blah 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 blah, you can change it to DevOps, right? So you can do all those things from this file. SBIN, essential system binaries. Okay, user. Okay, so this has user read-only, user application support, and binaries. Again, will all these files or folders you'll be accessing while working on other tools, right? So just for now, remember that the parent directory is your root directory, and under that you've got bin, etc, sbin, etc. You'll have something called as var, which contains your variable data files. So remember, like if you guys would have done troubleshooting using logs, you would have used these directories, var, log, and then you get a name of the log file with the timestamp. So all those things where it gets stored. This is the directory where those things get stored, right? And after that, for example, in C you have C download setting users or user settings. So that folder contains data about your users, right? So similarly, in Linux, slash home is the user home directory. Okay, so it's the home directory for the users. So now what is the home directory for the root user? It's slash root. Okay. Yeah. So this is the system file system hierarchy. At the top you have root. Again, when you start using these frequently, you will remember all of these. Okay. Again, what I had used mainly during my years as a tester, log file is what I used to use a lot. So I knew, okay, where to find the log files. And commands also, I'll tell you the most common used commands which I used to use. Okay. So this detail I took it from linuxfoundation.org. So you can go to this site if you want to understand in detail about each of these file systems or the directories. Okay. Okay. So some of the common commands, who am I? Okay, which would tell you like what is the name of the logged in user, if you want to find the current date, if you want to see the calendar, if you want to find your present working directory. So in Windows, it's very easy. You see where you are, right, in the Explorer, Windows Explorer. But here in Linux, if you want to know where exactly you are, so pwd is the command which you have to type. Ls, it's like it gives you the list. Again, when I'll do it, after the theory part, you will see all these command. Username to find out the name of the user through which you have logged in. Okay, so after this, the next set of command which we'll study is how do you create, read, or delete your files and directories. So there are various ways to create a file. If you see, you have got cat command, you've got touch, you've got some editors, vi, nano. Whatever you get used to it, you remember it. For example, I use vi a lot, vi editor a lot for creating a file. Okay, somebody is comfortable in cat command, somebody is comfortable in touch command. Okay, so similarly, this is how do you create, and if you want to remove, what is the command? Rm. So if you see, command are also very easy to remember. So rm, remove. Now if you want to create a directory, it is mkdir. Okay, if you want to remove a directory, now a directory could be empty or directory could have files, right? So if the directory is empty, simply do rmdir. But if you want to remove a directory which has content in it, which has like subdirectories or files, so rm minus rf is what you have to use, which is recursively delete, and f is for forceful delete. Okay, then if you want to create a parent folder, then inside parent folder you want to create a child folder, and inside that you want to create a subchild, etc. So what is the command? Again, mkdir. All these are in small cases, by the way. Okay, while creating this ppt, m is showing up in caps, but the actual command would have m in small. So mkdir dash p p1 slash p2. So that would be like p1. Then under p1 you'll have p2. Under p2 you will have p3. Okay. Then some of the commands which is used on files is head and tail. So if you want to see specific lines of code or a log, okay, you just want to see first 10 lines or last 10 lines or first 100 or first 50. For example, you've got a big log file and you just want to see last 10 lines of that log file. So tail is that command. Okay. By default, if you just say head and the file name, it would give you 10 lines. Okay. And if you want more than 10, then you have to specify minus and the number of lines which you want to see. Okay. So this was all about create, copy, delete, create, read, delete. Similar, you've got copy and move files. So if you want to copy one file from one location to another location, right? So in Windows, what do? Control C. You go to that location and you do Control V. Here, what is the command? CP, right? Now, if you want to move a file to a certain directory, so what would you do? Name of the file, and then you have to specify the directory. Okay. Yeah. If you want to, there's two directory, directory 1 and directory 2. Directory 1 has 10 files. So if you want to copy all the 10 files, so you'll do cp-r, the source, and then destination. So all those 10 files which are there under dr1, it gets copied to your destination directory. Okay. In Windows, you have cut and paste, right? So in Linux, for cut and paste, it is mv, move. Okay. And mv is also used for renaming a file. So there are two purposes with mv. Okay. So you can cut and paste or you can rename a file. Okay. Grep, as I told you, one of my favorite commands, which used to help me search for a pattern. So you say grep and then the pattern. Okay. Right, and you write that pattern into double quotes. If you want to have it case sensitive, so you can do grep -I double quotes the pattern you want to see. For example, you want to see internal server error or 500 or 400 or credit card, etc., and then provide the file name. It would search entire log file or a code, and it would give you that line where I mean, it would exactly print that word for you. Yeah. So before we go to what's next, let's practice all these commands which we just read. Okay. So first I'll show you the file system hierarchy. Then we'll perform these basic commands: create, delete, read, move, etc. We'll see grep command, and then we'll come back and we'll see what is it that we are going to cover in our next session. Okay. So let me change my screen. So to practice, where do I need to go to? OT. Okay. Yeah. So if you see, if I do PWD. Okay. So where am I? PW is present working directory. Right now I'm under home and I'm doing all my work using EC2 user. Okay. Now, if I want to change from EC2 user to a root user, right now you see I've logged in as a EC2 user. Now, if I want to change to a root user or super user, okay, so what is it I'll do? Sudo sudo. See, this got changed to root. Okay. Now, if I say who am I? You are root. Okay. You're a root user. Now, let's do ls, which list, okay, under EC2 user, what all you have? There's nothing. CD double dot is you go to a parent. Okay. Again, if you do, if I do ls, now where am I? Do you see this? This is my root directory. Okay. Remember the /, it was for my root directory. Under root directory, we had bin, we have dev, etc. Remember? Then you had your USR, you'll have the user detail here. Okay. Now let me go to CD if I want to change the directory, or let me just do ls. Okay. Yeah. Let me go to bin. Let's see what all we have in bin directory. So you do CD bin. Okay, CD bin /. No, sir. Okay, I haven't used any command right now. Okay, okay. Let me check this and get back to you later. Okay. Oh, so I'm already in bin, and then I'm doing cd bin. See, it's not possible. Already I'm there in bin, right? Okay. And what I'm saying again, change directly to bin. So it would start looking for bin inside bin. There is no bin inside. There's no bin folder inside bin. So if I do simply ls, what are folders are there inside bin? These are the folders or files inside this bin. Okay. If you want to clear all of these things, clear is the command. Okay. Let me go back. cd root. Okay. If I do ls, okay, I'm already there. Present working directory. I'm in root. Okay. cd var ls. This is my var file. Okay. Under this var file, you see opt or the log file. With see, let me do cd log ls. Okay. So all these details you can find. So to change the directory, cd. In Windows, what do? You just click and go to the next directory. Okay. But here cd. If you want to come out of the directory, cd dot dot. So you will go one level up. Again, if I do cd dot dot, I'll go one level up. Okay. Let's see what is the date today. Okay. So it's July 10, and the format is UTC. I think UTC is +5 of Indian time zone or EST. I don't remember, but you can always check, right? So I think yes, it's plus. I think -5 because right now it's something around 6:47 and it's here 1:17. So I think -5:30 of IST. Okay, so yeah, or if I can do cal. Okay, so here in the calendar you can see 10. Yeah. Now user name. What is the username? Oh, this command is not working. Maybe I'm making some mistake. Okay, I'll check this mistake I have done. Yeah. So this was the basic command which we studied in our first slide. Okay. Now let's see how do we create a file. Okay. So let me just see what is my parent directory. That's root. Let me first create a folder for myself. So practice session. Okay, let's move to, I've created with mkdi, you've created the folder. Now I have to move inside the folder. So I'll do cd practice, press tab, it would come inside. Now I want to create file. Let me first see, is there anything inside it? No. Ls would list whatever is inside that directory. Do we have anything inside it? No. Now if I want to create a file, okay, I'll show you first how can you create multiple files. So touch, you can use touch to create single file also or multiple file also. Okay, so single file, it is like my first file, my second file. Okay, if I do ls, see, we've got these two files, right? Now if I want to write inside this file, so there are various ways. One of the ways, cat my first file. Now right, this is my first file. Second session on DevOps, CareersTalk. Okay, now Control C. Okay, again, cat command can help you to see the content also of the file. So if you just simply do cat and my first file, you can see the content of this file. Got it? Another way to create a file, empty file if you want to create. Touch was one way. Okay, what else you can do is vi. Another way to create a file is vi, my second file, and here you can write. Okay, so you have to press insert. This is my second file. How are you doing? Do let us know if you are liking this series. Okay. Now press escape :WQ. Okay, which is save and quit. Okay, let's see the content. What is the command? Cat my second file. This even with VI, you can see your. Okay, so you can come insert. I will continue with system user management session in next session. Okay, escape WQ. Yeah, so this is how do you create a file. Okay, now if I want to delete a file, okay, how do I delete? Okay, before that I wanted to show you one thing. If you do ls minus l, okay, where was my, yeah, let, okay, so you'll see that directories have this as D. Okay, let me go inside this practice, practice spelling mistake, practice. Okay, and if I do ls long list, see, for files you have dash. So if you want to distinguish if certain thing is file or a directory, you can distinguish by this. Okay. Now if I want to copy the content of this file, so what, how can I, oh, we were studying about delete. So let me do touch my third file. Okay. Now if I want to see how many files I have, 3, and if I want to delete my third file, so what would I do? Tell me. RM. Was the command RM? I think yes. My third file. Yes. Now let me do ls. See, you have my first file and my second file. Okay, so we'll continue with the file part only first, and then we'll do the directory commands. Okay, yeah. Copy. Let's copy the content of the file. Okay, so let's see how many files we have. 2. CP, my first file, my third file. LS. How many files you see now? 3. Okay, and what is the content of the third file? Whatever was there in my first file. Cat my third file. Okay, got it, guys? Okay. What else we can do? We've created, we have delete, rename. So how do you rename your file? MV, my third file, okay, to my fourth file. Let's see, ls. What happened? See, your third file has got renamed to my fourth file. Yeah. Okay. Let's create another folder inside a practice session. Okay. Or let me come out and create a folder mkdir practice session 2. Okay. Now I want to copy my first file. I want to move my first file from the practice session to practice session 2. So what can I do? MV practice my first file, move it to practice session 2. Okay. Okay, now let's go inside practice session and see, do we have my first file there? CD practice session ls. No, my first file is not here. Okay, let's move to practice session 2. Oh, spelling mistake. Oh, CD this session 2. Okay, ls, my first file. So did you see what I did? I went to the root directory. there was already one folder named as directory, I should say. Let's talk in terms of Linux. So there was practice session. This was the directory. This directory had these 3 files. Okay. And I wanted to move my first file, which was there in practice session, to practice session 2. So what is the command I typed? MV. I specified the location of that file and gave my destination. Okay. So let me show you one more thing. See, we've typed so many commands, and if you want to see the list of those commands for what all we have done, history. So history gives you all the commands which I have typed till now. So who am I, ls, cd dot dot. These are the things we have practiced till now. We've created a file, empty file using touch command. We created file using cat, nano. We saw the content of file using vi, cat. We copy the content of a file to another file. We copied the content of a file, moved file from one folder to another folder. We renamed the file. Okay. Now let's see if I have to delete the content of a directory. Okay. For that, let me first create an empty directory. Okay. So mkdir practice. So mkdir is to create a directory. So we are doing both the things parallelly, file creation and directory creation. Session 3. Okay. Now if I have to delete practice session 3, RM, which is removed. Very good. Practice session 3. RMDIR. Come on. RM is for file. Okay. So for directory, it has to be RMDIR. Practice session 3. You were able to delete it. Let's try and delete practice session 2. Okay. RMDIR. Practice session 2. See, not able to delete that directory. Why? Because it's not empty. So what is the command to delete a file which is not empty, or a delete a directory which is not empty? rm minus rf, and then practice session 2 ls. Let's see. Practice session 2. Can I locate this file? No. Okay, there's another way to find certain thing. You can just say find practice. Okay, there's no such thing. File exactly we have to go. Let's see first. You're able to find practice session. Okay, let's see. Find practice session 3. No such file or directory. That means it got deleted. Okay. Yeah, so this was all about file. How to create file, delete file, how to create directory, how to delete a directory. One more thing, if you want to create parent directory inside that a child directory in just one go, so the command would be mkdir p. It could be say DevOps, no, CareerTalk, DevOps, okay, and Jyoti, or let me do it like Scrum Master and Jyoti. Okay. Now if I go inside CareerTalk, I'll do ls. What do you say? DevOps. If I go under DevOps and I do ls, what do you say? Scrum Master. So this is file inside file, or directory. I keep saying file. Directory inside a directory. Okay. If you want to pictorially see this, there is a application which helps you to pictorially see this. Okay, under CareersTalk, you have DevOps, Scrum Master, and Jyoti. So you need to install the application which is, or a service which is tree. So how do you install application or packages in Linux? It's yum install tree -y. Okay, so it's installing that. Okay, let me go one level up. Okay, let me do 3. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so let me just go tell CareersTalk, clear and do tree. See, what do you say? Dot is your current one, which is careers directory. Inside that you have DevOps, Scrum Master and Jyoti. Okay. What next? Read the content of the file, just first few lines or last few lines. So let me go ahead and create a file inside CareersTalk. So cat long file. Let me just randomly type something. This is second session like reach out for queries. Okay, so I've created this file. Okay, again, if you see tree, you'll see, okay, you under CareersTalk, you have long file. Okay, now if I want to search certain thing in this, oh, okay, so how many lines you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 lines are there. I want to see first 2 lines. So what I'll do is hit just 2 and long file. So you just see first 2 lines of that file. If I want to see the last 2, jail. So see, even commands are so, what do you say, self-explanatory. Head is something at the top, tail something at the bottom. Yeah. So last 2 lines for queries. Okay. Then head, tail, search. Right. So how do you search? Grep. This is for case insensitive. So let me search for like and file name, long file. Yeah. So you find a line which has like in it. Okay. What else? Let me just quickly check my PPT. So we've seen our file system. We have seen the basic commands. We have created, read, deleted the file and directory. We've moved stuff, regular expression, and then head, tail is what we have done. Yeah. So I think that's it for today. Okay. Let's see what we are going to study in the next session. I know we had a lot of command which we practiced today. And again, when I knew about this, how I learned these command is the more I used it. Okay, so this is how you'll also learn. Like some of the commands which you'll use frequently, you learn it, and the rest you don't have to memorize anything, right? Everything is out there in the Google. You can just type what exactly you're looking for, and you get the command. Okay, yeah. So let's see what we'll cover in our final session of the next. So we'll be talking mainly about user management, wherein how do you create a user, set password, then some of the system and process management, like if you have to find out CPU usage, memory usage, okay, most consuming application, most memory or CPU consuming applications, right? So you using commands through system and process management, you'll be able to find those information. And finally, service management, like how do you start a service, how do you stop a service. This is what you'll study in the next session. Okay. Yeah. So thank you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to write it down in the comments. We'll be happy to help. Thank you. Bye.